One thing that is really frustrating to deal with mental health is when you get people that will come up and they usually almost always have a loving heart when they do this, but they will tell you like hey, just like don't let it bother you, or just move on, like it happened in the past. And it's like, man, I would do that if I could, if it was that easy. But I think we are learning that mental health is more complicated as science kind of continues to show more of how we can understand our brains. And a lot of times it's not just something we can ignore, but it's a real thing, and it's difficult to deal with. So it's really helpful when people say like, hey, I'll pray for you, and and they'll ask you like, how can I help you? But they do it in a way where they're just like, hey, I don't understand what you're going through, but like I'm gonna be there and support you through it. That's really been what's the most helpful thing. So I think not trying to assume that you know what somebody else is going through is very helpful.
Yeah. And I think churches don't always know how to respond to mental health diagnoses and situations. Tell me, how did you get comfortable telling people I'm sick in my mind and I can't get over it?
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. I think my personality is such that it's easy. It's always been easy for me to share. I'm very open to talking about what I've dealt with. I know people in my own life that have a really hard time doing that. So I think part of it's personality. I also think just the more you talk to people about things, like having the initial conversation is tough, especially in my situation. Like I dropped out of school, and that's kind of embarrassing. Like it's not something you're excited to tell people. But then when people hear like what happened to you, they become sympathetic, and you find a lot of other people actually have been through stuff like that too. It's just when we don't talk about it, then everybody kind of thinks that like you're okay, but really there's a lot of people that go through stuff like that, but you just don't know because they never share.
How do you trust God when your healing is partial but not all the way complete?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, because I actually wanted to share my testimony before, and I was very hesitant too because of exactly what you said. Like I didn't feel, I was like, I'm not better, so like why should I go out and tell people like this is my story? But I guess like everybody's going through struggles in their life, and we're never going to be totally healthy, and we're never going to be like as we get older, like things don't get better, they tend to get worse. So I guess part of what I've been learning is like you kind of need to learn how to be okay with where you're at, and how to trust God that like he will use you where you are.